Yo, 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 it is your boy, Nice versus Wild, and you're listening to another episode of Be a Wolf Sessions. It is session number 86 weeks in a row. I've got a little bit of a sore throat. I feel like I'm recovering from a bit of a head cold flu. I don't know what it is. I just jumped on a plane a couple of days ago. And every time I somehow jump on a plane, I get sick, and it's not a good thing. But I still wanted to show up, and if this episode is a little bit crackly and my voice isn't coming out and my nose sounds blocked, you know what's happening. If this is your first time listening and you're like, who the heck is this guy? My name is Nazil Sashil. I'm a full-time creative entrepreneur from South Auckland. I was born in a rural Fijian village called Lambasa, Bunileka, and my mission in life is to write a story that beats longer than my heart. Now, before we get into the notes that I wrote in my diary this week, I just want to say big love to everybody that listened to the last session with Renan. It's been a little while since I brought on a guest. To be honest, it's not that I don't want to. It's just because my life is a little bit crazy, like in terms of living in two countries, where I'm actually struggling to set up times to do proper interviews where like there's 3 cameras and stuff like that. So I do definitely want to do more of that in 2024. It's just the flexibility and the accessibility that's making it a little bit different. And you're like, nice, you're just making some bullshit excuses. And I'm like, yes, I'm recording this. I'm definitely trying to not make excuses. I'm going to get more people on, but thank you to everybody that's listening to every single episode. If there's anybody that you want us to bring on, make sure you share these episodes with them, so that they can listen to a couple few, and if you think that they might be a good fit to jump into these sessions in 2024, hey, I'm all for it, to be honest. I'm all for collaboration. I'm all for large scale impact. And if you see somebody that's doing amazing things in the community, or even in your circles and your environments, or somebody that's, really made some transformations in themselves that you believe that's going to make large scale impact in other people, or even small scale impact in other people, please send them my way. I'm always keen to connect. But yeah, thank you for listening to the last episode. Such great, valuable insights for creators, entrepreneurs, business owners. If you haven't gone and listened to the session number 85, make sure you go listen to it before you listen to this one. Now, I'm going to make this one a heck of a session, even though I've got a little bit of a sore throat. First thing that I wrote in my diary this week, you guys are going to love, to be honest. I know that everyone's kicking off 2024, right? And everyone's in the hype train's on, really 6 weeks of like super motivation before people, like 99% of people lose it. And I think what's really going to help you go the distance in 2024. And I know, I think this line, it's super simple. But if you can remember this in 2024, I think you can really go the distance. It's realizing that you always have a choice. Especially if you're watching this session or listening or in the car or driving to work or watching on YouTube. You've got the privilege to watch this and educate yourself. Or you've got the privilege to listen to other people in your field, in your industry. There's so many things online now where, you could get a PhD online. I honestly, universities are great, but I genuinely believe that like if there's a skill set that doesn't require you to be a doctor or an engineer, you probably could still be an engineer by like learning yourself, but let's not take the risk there. But I'm just trying to say that like there's so many resources, there's so many things out, and most of the times we don't make the effort is because we make the choice not to make the effort. And I think it's just as simple as that. And I've been in the wrong so many times in my life where I could have done something, but I chose not to. There's so many times I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I'm not going to go for a run, because I just don't feel like it. But it's like the willpower that's required, and the willpower that you need to build in your mind to be able to create momentum and be able to really realize that you always have a choice. You have a choice before you get out of bed. You have a choice to eat and drink the things you want. You have a choice to pick the friends and the communities that you want to hang out with. And I think when you save your energy for the right choices, you will always be able to go the distance. So that was point number 1 I wrote in my diary this week. You always have a choice, and I want you to go with that in 2024. Point number 2 is you first must open the doors in your mind before you open the doors in real life. Now, on Be a Wolf Sessions, we talk a lot about, manifestation. We talk a lot about, envisioning your dreams and envisioning your ideas and manifesting it and really going after it, right? We talk about that a lot. especially if you're like a creative, your brain's usually everywhere. Or if you're an artist or a musician or a business owner, there's so many things on your plate at once, and you're always thinking about how you can bring it to life. And a lot of times we fall short because we don't open those ideas in our brain. And I know this sounds too cliche, but I really want you to think about this. It's when you realize and believe in those thoughts of like making something a reality, whether it's a product, whether it's a dream, whether it's doing something with your life, you must first believe it in your mind. You must first experience it in your mind. And I do this all the time. I always envision things. And usually when I've done it, like I envision the finish line, or envision the destination or how it might feel. And I try to experience it, and I try to look for people that's maybe accomplished that and try to learn off them. It's always about learning off the best, and I think there's a lot of value in that. And I think there's so many amazing people doing amazing things, and there's so many free resources for us to grow. And I think if we can realize and visualize the doors in our mind before we do it in real life, I think there's always going to be a winner there. So hopefully that sparked a little bit of light. Point number 3 I wrote in my diary this week was, if you can be seen, then you can be remembered. Now, this goes to a point where I was with a couple of mates and we're talking about like, how does a business grow? And one of my mates is starting a startup, and she's actually an artist, and she sells products online. So she's like, oh, how am I going to be different from all these other people that are selling these things online on Shopify? And I was like, first you got to create something that can be remembered. And I always think to myself is like, you know, you can be in an industry for so long and keep trying and keep failing. But if you don't create a trustworthy brand that can be remembered, you're always going to fall short on the long run. And like, I feel like we're living in a world where, you know, there's so much marketing that's thrown at us, and there's so much noise, and it's all about fighting on understanding how you're going to be able to stand out. And I think there's a lot of value, especially in 2024 or into this year, even last year, to be honest, I'm not even going to build this up, is realizing is you have to be memorable. Whether that's like selling yourself and the way you communicate, or whether that's selling your ideas or your product and your services in a way where you're leaving an impression on the person. I think there's a lot of learnings that can come from that. And if you can consistently practice and see if people can actually remember you and create that model, I think you're going to be able to create a business that's not only trustworthy, but that's going to be able to generate its own leads, own sales, own ecosystem. And if you can do that, you're already hitting that first stage of like things that we've talked about, you know, the startup, the scale up, the grow up part of your business. So hopefully you can take that thinking process in your business this year. Especially think about like, you know, if you really, you have to be seen first in order to be remembered. So hopefully that like helps you to not focus on being a perfectionist. Hopefully it helps you to just get the stuff out and really test the market, and really don't let your overthinking stop you from letting the content out, to be honest. And like, look at me, I'm literally recording this without lights today if you're watching on YouTube, because I really just want to get this out and you know, give you guys some insights that I've learned in the last sort of month or 7 days, and not give up on this journey, and not give up on these Monday sessions. There's so many people listening, and I want to give you guys the insights, and not let you down as well. Point number 4. Point number 4 that I wrote in my diary this week was, live your life like you would like to leave your life. This is good. This is just deep. I'm just going to leave it there. Live your life like you would like to leave your life. Live your life like you would like to leave your life. That's just too deep. Now, the biggest point in my diary this week was creative versus technical. Creative is thinking. Technical is execution. This one's big. I actually had like a 40-minute conversation with my mate when we came up with this idea. And we're thinking about like, being a creative or being somebody that's technically savvy. There's a difference. And I think a creative person is somebody, especially if you classify yourself as a creative person, is somebody that thinks of ideas or generates ideas in their mind and tries to bring it to life. And sometimes they don't know, and I'm especially one of these, is I don't know sometimes the processes that are required to bring this to life. Obviously, you've got the big ideas, you're dreaming big, you're an optimist. You just want to create as a creative. Whereas a technical person is the executor. And if you can build those two skills and combine it, you're almost the complete package when it comes to your art, your business. And sometimes there's a lot of shortcomings. And I think sometimes you have to figure out what skill set that you want to try to master more. Because I'm not saying that one is better than the other, but what I am saying is if you're more of a creative person, you like to take a little bit of like a oversight view. Whereas if you're a technical person, you like to be a little bit more detailed. And I think both of these elements have both creative and technical. But if you can really take this vision on to 2024 and really think about that, hey, look, let's stop focusing on those real details and start focusing on the things that's going to improve me as a person, and that's going to improve my creative thinking, that's going to improve my technical thinking. Whereas you could be the most creative person, but if you can't bring that to life with your technical skills, you're absolutely useless. And I think a lot of times we get stuck in our heads with our ideas that we don't realize that maybe the technical things aren't as hard as we think it is. And is when we realize that, I think that's when we start to really make ground. So I just really want you guys to really think about this, because it's probably the biggest point that I want to make in this session is creative versus technical. Creative is thinking and technical is execution. Creative is thinking and technical is execution. So make sure you don't fall short on the little Ferris wheel thing where like the creative side is too high and the technical side is too low. You have to try find a little bit of a balancing act where you're executing, learning, executing, learning, executing, learning. Because that is what's going to help you to go the distance. So yeah, a little bit of a micro session, about 4 or 5 points I wrote in my diary this week. Hopefully you guys found a little bit of value in it. We're going to keep this rolling. Thank you for listening to 86 Mondays in a row. Make sure you go listen to all the other episodes before you listen to the next one. And I really appreciate all the reviews, all the feedbacks. As you probably already know, the podcast grew by 68% in the last sort of 12 months. So we're slowly growing. We're making some ground, and I can't wait to take this to 500. So appreciate all the love. Let's keep it rolling. You guys have a good 2024. Make sure you guys stay consistent, stay in it, and remember, the wolf is always in your heart. Keep being you. Keep being a wolf. Let's go.